Welcome back to the channel, everyone. It's me, microstakesmoby, and today I'm going to be asking, in my opinion, what the most important question in poker is. And that question is, what happens to villain's range if? Caveat that with most of the time, because I'm sure like me you've seen some wild stuff, but we'll caveat that with most of the time, what happens to villain's range if. So we're going to look at table 2 with the ace queen offsuit and just ask ourselves that question through each portion of the hand. So we'll just let it play a little bit, and we elect to call eventually. So as you can see there, our opponent's opened a 4x. If you saw it flash up there, we just put our cursor over him to see what his pre-flop stats look like, and we only had 6 hands on him, so we don't know anything about him. We don't know if the 4x is his normal raise size with his full range, or he would only do that with the strongest portion of his range with his aces, kings and queens, whatever. So we do just flat. So what happens to our opponent's range, or villain's range, when he opens to 4x from middle position? So bear with me, we'll just bring this in. So this is the range I've assigned him. I don't think it's too out of line considering we don't know anything about him. So we've gone with all the suited aces, and then Broadway hands which are offsuit, all your suited Broadways obviously, and then some 9x and suited connectors down to pocket 5s. So we'll just bring that back out the way and see what he does on the flop. Out of position obviously we'll be checking with middle pair top kicker, and opponent goes for a check. So what happens to our villain's range here if he checks that flop? In my opinion, most of the time players will bet aces, kings, queens, sevens, ace king, and all of the king x. So I would be ranging that villain now and thinking, what happens to villain's range if he checks that flop? I would say that all of that stuff would bet. 90% of the time at the micro stakes, top pair is getting bet, and obviously aces, the over pair, is getting bet. I would also think that maybe bar kings, if he's holding the king of hearts in his hand, but I don't think micro stakes players are thinking like this, would bet. I would think all of the sets would bet. If we think about the flop texture there, there's 2 hearts on it, and we hold the queen of diamonds, so it's very unlikely he's got the queens on the flop before the turn card comes. He can't possibly have the queen of hearts because it's on the deck, and he can't possibly have the 7 of hearts because it's on the deck there, we can see it. So if he has a set, he would be worried about a flush draw, and I don't ever see him checking a set back on there, unless it could possibly 5% of the time at most a thinking player check back top set with the king of hearts in his hand, but the rest of the time I believe they're getting bet. So for that reason I would take out all of that stuff. I would think the king would have bet all of the time. So I would also think that all of his ace-high flush draws, most of the time, at least 50% of the time, would probably bet there as well. So half the time I would take them out. So we'll just move this and see what happens. So you can see the turn there, we have turned a queen, which is a great card for us. And we'll see what I elect to do. So I've gone for a small bet. So what's the reasoning behind the small bet? Well, if we think about what we believe our opponent's range to be, what happens if our opponent hasn't bet? We've taken out all of the kings there. So if we bet large, what is he going to call us with? Maybe some heart flush draws, if he's got some, if he hasn't bet them already. But he hasn't got a lot of strong hands in his range. So can we bet large there? Not really. Especially when the queen comes on the turn as well, and we hold a queen. The likelihood of him having either a king or a queen is pretty slim. If he does have a queen when we bet small, what do we think he's going to do? He's going to raise, isn't he? And we've got the nut queen, so we'll be able to get it in. Again, if he was slow playing a set of kings when we bet small, at this point I would think he would raise as well and let us know. Same with the sevens. If he was slow playing a set, which I never see happening really, he would let us know at this point. So a small bet here is going to get us value from things like pocket nines, pocket eights, pocket tens, maybe 7-6 suited, ace 7, stuff like that, weaker portions of his range that really can't call a large bet, a strong bet. So we'll see what he does. So he just elects to call a small bet. So we can pretty much at this point take out all of the queen X, I would think. Pretty sure a queen to a small bet there most definitely would have raised. I don't ever see a queen there for 2 big blinds calling. So we'll take that out. And we've narrowed his range down quite significantly. I would think as well, probably 6s and 5s probably would have folded. That 6-5 suited will be out of his range, which leaves him with, that'll come out, 9-8 suited as well. Jack 9, he's maybe got the gut shot there, so we'll probably call. But you can see from each action there, most of the time, there are fishy opponents out there, but most of the time we've been able to narrow down that range quite significantly. We'll leave the suited aces in because he may have ace X of hearts, possibly, but I very much doubt it. I think it would have bet on the flop, but we'll leave it in there anyway. So we've managed to narrow this range down quite considerably. So what happens to villain's range if we bet smaller? I think most of the time he's going to fold all of that stuff that we've just listed. So we'll progress on to the river. And on the river, I've decided to go for a check. So why have I decided to go for a check? Because there's not a lot of value left in his range. If he has 9s, 10s or 8s, I think he's going to check back. So we're going to miss a little bit of value from 10s, 9s, 8s, 8-7 suited and 6-7 suited. I think jacks might pop a small value bet out if he has jacks. But the rest, you can see, the rest of villain's range, what happens if we check to villain's range here, the rest of it has a lot of bluffs in there. That 10-9 suited, Jack 9 suited, Jack 10 suited, Jack 10 off, Ace 10 off, Ace Jack off. All the others you can see for yourself without me listing them off. There's a lot of villain's range there that may fire a bluff off to try and take the pot down because we haven't shown a great deal of strength. So with us checking to him, we are crossing our fingers and hoping that he doesn't have 8s, 9s or 10s and he pops a value bet out. Or a bluff out I should say, and he does go for quite a large bet and we elect to call and he shows us the bluff, the Jack 10 of clubs. So why didn't I go for a raise there with 3 of a kind? Well, the flush is completed, a backdoor flush draw is completed there, and if we raise when he's bet there, what's going to call us? Only really his backdoor flush draws that have got there. If we look at his range and what it's composed of, most of the time, there's not a lot of stuff there apart from things that would beat us, which is his backdoor spade draws that would call, and obviously we're crushed by them, so we don't want to put a great deal extra in the pot. It's pointless. His bluffs aren't going to call, and we're only going to get called by hands that absolutely destroy us. So that is why through each street I asked myself that really, really important question: what happens to villain's range if? And that, hopefully, if you ask yourself that through every street, pre-flop, flop, turn and river, should help you make some better decisions at the poker table and help you work your way out of the micro stakes. So thank you very much for watching that one. I hope you got something out of it. Again, if you've got any questions, fire a comment in at the bottom, and there's coaching available. I will put my email address in the description box, so if you're interested in any coaching at the micro stakes, drop me an email. I've had some people take up that already and it's proved to be quite beneficial to them. They're win rate's gone up. So any questions, interested in any coaching, drop me a message and I'll catch you in the next one. Thank you very much.